This is the thoughts not only of himself, but most of the Igbo businessmen have this sense that why would I allow somebody else to come and start running my company, which I have built, labored, suffered, or even almost get killed, and then another person who did not even lift a finger will now come and become the director. But you see, the question that they never ask themselves is, what are you really in business for? Is it profit or to just be director?
Hello guys, this is Creative Lord TV. Today we are live and direct in Mangrover's house. The name is High Chief Dr. Godwin Mangrover Okonkwo. You want to go Mangrover? I know a lot of you have heard about Mangrover group of companies limited, like ZANZAN and ZANZAN mixture and balm, like they produce balm. You have heard about him a lot, and today we are live and direct in his home, in his country home, in his village. No Moji, no. So he was a patron of People's Club of Nigeria and a pioneer of People's Club of Nigeria, Lagos branch. So we are here, his home, his village, this is his house, and we are to meet his son to interview him. Let's hear from him directly. Let's go.
My name is I.G Okonkwo. I'm from Moji. I'm the son of Mangrover, who is late, and Mangrover was a former patron of People's Club of Nigeria. So I want to talk a little bit about him, and depending on the kind of questions that this interview wants me to answer. Okay. My father was an importer, a businessman, and he had major products. One of them is Freedom Balm, one of them is ZANZAN baby mixture, and there are others. There was also Afric hair dye. And so my father, he started in a humble way, and he grew up in Umoji, but started his business at Onitsha, and then he later became an importer. During the Civil War, he ran away from Nigeria. He ran away from Nigeria so that his life would be spared, because at that time there was a lot of violence in the land. So he now went abroad. During that time, he managed to escape, and then when the war ended, he came back to Nigeria and he reestablished his business, and he began to produce Freedom Balm again and ZANZAN baby mixture through his partners abroad. And then, as God would do for him, he became successful. Like I said, he was a member of the People's Club of Nigeria, and through People's Club, he did a number of things, including the charity works which he did in his hometown when he constructed a major road linking Anog and Agoma all the way to VIP. And the road took his name, Mangrover Road. And then he did other humanitarian acts, and a lot of them he did not even reveal it. But there are people who later came and revealed it, that he did so and so things for them. Okay, so that is the side that many people know. Okay, it was also somebody that attended church regularly, because I knew that as early as when we were children, he would get up on Sundays and make sure that everybody is ready for church. So it's a very regular attendance of church, and that, I think, shows that he understood the importance of having a relationship with God. You know, and then I know that there are other things which I myself may not know, you know, about my own father. And there are people who knows also other things. But these are the ones that I am confident to speak about.
Okay. So, your dad was he from a rich family?
Okay. Well, I would not say that he was, I wouldn't say that he was from a poor family, in the sense that what we consider wealth today is a little bit different, because in their own time, because I did not meet my grandfather, but I understood that my grandfather had many lands. Okay, so in that case, lands represents where people farm and produce food. And so when somebody has the opportunity to farm on a lot of lands, he's going to produce a lot more food than somebody who has little lands. So in that sense, he was not from the poor, the way poor is described in that time. Okay. And he had minimal education, because again, at that time, people were not very many in universities. Probably there isn't one yet around this time, during his time. So, but he's somebody who can read and write very well, and can do his sums very well. So, to the standard of his time, he is educated, because the much time I spend with him intimately, he reads his own newspapers, and when he has secretaries in his office, he dictates the letter to them in English. So, meaning that he is literate enough to express himself. That's why he was able to travel overseas, and was literate enough to deal with those Europeans. Had it been he wasn't literate enough, he wouldn't understand what the Europeans wanted or what they could do with him. So I'm sure that that, to me, it's evident that his own parents, they may not be all that rich, but they had enough resources to put him through the kind of education that enabled him to have that as an asset. Okay, so that's why I have to make that differentiation, that it is not education the way we look at it today, and wealth the way we look at it, but the way that it is known in those times, that made me convinced that at least they had some resources. You know, they may not be quote unquote rich, but they had resources that enabled them to put him through school so that he could be literate enough to write letter, read a newspaper, do calculations, communicate. Because if he didn't have these smarts, which is what education can give you, he won't be able to negotiate his business, and so he won't be able to prosper. So I think I would say that he was of average background, you know, in his time. He was of average background, yes.
So after him, the ZANZAN barman too, because he had a lot of company. So as a store, how do you feel? How do you try to fill in his legacy, to maintain his legacy? Because what he's done, you mentioned he did the roof, he did this. So your father was
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, he was. But like I said, it's not. One of the things I noticed is that there are certain things which my father did, which I saw later in life that it could have been done differently and would have had a much more lasting result had it been that he did it differently. But I also understood that he was copying from what his fellow Igbo businessmen were doing at the time, because a lot of them do not um, they don't turn the business over to their children while they are still while they themselves are still healthy. They tend to hold on to the business, and so by the time their children, by the time they pass away, so that the children will inherit this business, the business has been depleted. Because, so you discover that this has happened to many other Igbo men who were successful. They don't, if you contrast this with what happens in the Western world, you discover that a white man will open a business. Once his business is well known, the next thing he does is he makes the name of the business a public enterprise. When you make the name of a business a public enterprise, the business has enormous potential for vast growth, and that is something that will not happen to a private business. You discover that many of the businesses we have, especially in the East, and the Easterners are businessmen, you discover that most of these businesses, because they were not brought into public enterprise like PLC. So the person owning that business always have to invest his own personal money, because it's a personal money, in order for the business to grow. And individuals naturally are very stingy with investing their own personal funds into risks, because business is always a risk somewhere. So, but if you, so I think that's why the whites do it differently. They bring up the business so that people knows about it, and the products are good. Bring it into public enterprise, or what we call PLC now. And so that business becomes owned by the general population. They themselves may retain maybe just a marginal majority, maybe 51%. Okay? And so what this does is it helps the business to attract funds that it could never attract without having to go into borrow. Because if the business can then be registered on the stock market and sell shares, those shares can generate huge funds into the business that was not available before to the business. This opens the door for the business to bring in machineries for manufacturing, for processing goods, and these things come at enormous cost. And the best way you can get it is if somebody is buying share and throwing that money at you. The shares, that is why you see all these companies like Coca-Cola, Nigerian breweries, they're all PLCs, because they went public.
Yeah.
But tell me how many Igbo men's businesses, no matter how big that name is, went public. This is the blind spots in the way our people think about business. Even I remember some time ago when some of his partners overseas, the people who were making, the white people making those products, advised him that he should get his children involved as early as possible, so that they themselves will also bring their children down here to work. Because in a time that is not far, him, Mangrover, and they will all get old. But then they will have a new generation who is even better educated, running things. And they will just sit back and be advisors. But the energy would have left them. Because the energy will always go to the youth. That's the natural flow of life. So, but my father rebuffed that idea. Okay? In fact, the white men predicted that in a time not far, the Nigerian economy will tank. That to the point that importers will not be able to have it easy again. That those who will have it easy will be those who have set up factories locally. Say because the Naira dollar exchange will no longer be in Nigeria's favor. Now, at the time I was talking about, this is probably 1980. Okay? The Naira was exchanging for, in 1980, the Naira was exchanging for $2. 1 Naira was exchanging for $2. I know this for a fact because by the time I got to New York in 1981, I had 10,000 Naira in my pocket. I went to the bureau de change at the airport and they gave me just a little more than $20,000. So it's clear that had it been he took that advice which was given to him, you know, he will have, his wealth will just be irreducible because he would have mastered how to produce those products here. You know that all these products can be produced locally. If you know what the white people put together to make it, you'll discover that the ingredients are all here. It's just that had it been he allowed them to come and produce here, he would have discovered what they were. Yeah, because they will source it locally. Yes. People don't know the power of Funchangu and all these things, but these are ingredients used in medicines in all these European factories. But when we see it here, some know the value, but most people don't know the value. Had it been he played along with them and allowed them, but the thing that made him not to be so much interested in it is because he thought that when you take a company public, the public will steal your business. Okay, this is the thoughts not only of himself but most of the Igbo businessmen have this sense that why would I allow somebody else to come and start running my company, which I have built, labored, suffered, or even almost get killed, and then another person who did not even lift a finger will now come and become the director. But you see, the question that they never ask themselves is, what are you really in business for? Is it profit or to just be director? If you tell yourself the truth, you discover that it is the profit that makes it all worthwhile. If your business is not doing well and you are suffering, always struggling, whether you're a director or not, you still will not be rich. Okay? So being a director or head does not profit you when there's no profit. So now you have to now think the other way. But if I allow somebody to be the director and allow the public to come and pour their money into the business, but I retain a portion of the business, you will be making probably 10 to 20 times money in 1 month. than you would see in an entire year running it on your own. And this is the secret of allowing companies to go public, so that the public will come and buy the shares of the company and bring in money. Shares are not loans.